Hey there, good day everybody. Whew, this is a hot one, but I tell you this, we got an overcast, and usually I'm looking for the sun, and it's not like I have to look hard for the sun. The sun is there, obviously. You see how beautiful it is, but that little bit of overcast makes it just cool enough, just enough for me to walk, getting through this video without literally being completely drenched. So I'm appreciative of that. But it is a beautiful day, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm in Atlanta. I'm always, I won't say bragging, but I'm always sharing how beautiful the weather is about Atlanta. Atlanta is a place, you may love some things, you may hate some things, but the weather I personally cannot complain about too much. It gets cold, I don't like that, but it doesn't last long. So here we are. But I wanted to ask you today, I wanted to talk to you about a question that I have asked myself, and I believe it is a powerful question it's been a powerful question for me. The only sadness about it is that I waited too long to ask myself this, and this is, do I prefer to be certain or do I prefer to be correct? And if you're like me and you've studied for a long time, sometimes you can get a little cocky in how much you've studied, and your confidence can be placed in how much I've studied. And you're not going to tell me because, I've learned for myself, so to speak. I am, on the flip side, in fairness to myself, I am a continuous learner. So in that continuous learning, I'm dedicated to learning more, and that humility of knowing I don't know everything. But a lot of times in the moment, I'm going to tell you, I'm confident in what I know. I'm certain in what I know because I've studied, I've put in the work to research. And so I'm confident in what I know. The challenge with that is, just like God has told us, like if you look at Jeremiah 17:9, he pretty much said, the heart is deceitful. The heart is deceitful. Not only is it deceitful, but it is deceitful above all things. So what does that mean? If it's deceitful above all things, that means that the heart is the most deceitful thing. So he wasn't just talking about Lepora's heart. He wasn't just talking about the person next to you, their heart. He's talking about your heart as well. And so sometimes when we hear the word, it's like jolting, like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, really, God? Like, you're telling me my heart is the most deceitful thing? Not only does he say it's the most deceitful thing, he says it is desperately wicked. Desperately wicked. Who can know it? Like, whoa, like, that's a diss, right? So the desperately wicked part, from my perspective, is basically saying, it's not saying like, oh, you're the wicked witch of the West, or, you're out to hurt everyone around you. But what it is saying is there is a significant level of selfishness in most, if not all, of our hearts. That selfishness to do what we want to do in the moment. And that's what makes the heart wicked. That doesn't mean we have to listen to the heart, but the wickedness is there in getting what we want. Even a lot of times, say, for example, we're caring for our children. We love our children, and we're so generous, but we're attached to our children. You know what I mean? So a lot of things that we do are selfishly driven every single day. And so that's what I believe that word is saying. But back to that question, do you want to be certain or do you want to be correct? Well, for me, if you're like me, once you study, you like to get, good tests on your exams, or good scores on your exams and your tests. And so you sometimes manifest that into life and how you live. Like, I want to learn, I want to study so that I can be right. The problem is nobody's always right. And so we may enter life, enter relationships saying, well, I am certain, I'm confident in my certainty. And that feels good, doesn't it? It feels good to be confident in our certainty. But the problem is, what God's word is always true. And he said the heart is deceitful. So what that means is, a lot of times when we're going to be certain, we're going to be incorrect. We're going to be wrong, because our heart is going to deceive us. And it's going to have us believe what is not true. And so what I aim to be now in a more mature state, not that I don't fall back, but unassuming in the sense of, I want to be correct. I want to choose the correct solution. I want to take the correct approach. And that is hard because what it requires sometimes is uncertainty, to be unassuming. And that's not such a comfortable feeling sometimes. It requires a little trust, a little faith in God to say, you know what, God, I have a pretty good idea of what the answer is, of what I should do, but I really need to humble myself, because it's better for me to choose the correct decision, the correct solution, which is what he wants, than it is for me to be certain in what I'm doing in this moment. So I'm going to surrender my certainty, which is a false sense of certainty anyways, so that I can get the correct solution. On a spiritual element, that's about, for example, praying to God. Okay, you get the job offer, you get the date offer, you get whatever opportunity it is to travel to wherever place at whatever time. And you may say, oh, that's going to be fun. That's going to be a lot of money. That's going to be exciting. Whatever that is that motivates you. It's easy to say, I'm going to grab onto that because I feel certain about it. It makes me feel good. If I take this trip, I'm going to have fun. If I go on this date, wow, I would enjoy looking at that person across from the table. You understand? If I take this job, it's going to be a lot of moolah. It's going to be a lot of cash, and so I'm certain because I'm confident in who I am that this is what I should do. But is that the correct response? Is that what you should do? From a spiritual perspective, you got to pray to God to find out what is that correct response, because the heart can be deceiving. And as he said again in Jeremiah 17:9, it can be deceiving. No, he didn't say it can be deceiving. God said it is deceiving above all things. Desperately wicked. We are desperate to have what we want. Who can know it? So that means while we're looking at other people, assessing who they are, being confident that we know who they are, we don't even know ourselves. And so that level of humility is uncomfortable, but at the same time, it is liberating, because when we acknowledge that we don't know ourselves completely, when we acknowledge that we don't know everything, then we open ourselves, we humble ourselves like children to receive wisdom, to receive the correct response, to receive the correct answer from God. And what does that give us? That gives us his anointed favor. So we may pass up on this job, but wow, what does he have around the corner? A job that is going to bless us more long-term, that is going to have a greater impact on our lives. Just as he said, all things, he didn't say some things, but he said, all things work out for the good for those who love him, love God, and who are called according to his purpose. So what he's telling us in that statement, and he is a truthful God, is that while we may be certain about a choice, if we obey him and listen to him and hear his voice, spend time to know his voice, and when we know his voice, follow his voice, even if that decision may be a little uncomfortable, because we don't really see what's on the other side of that curtain. So that's why we really don't want to take that decision. But we know that's where he's telling us to go. Even if it's uncomfortable, once we get past that curtain into where he has us to go, that's where we're going to get the greatest benefit. So I just encourage you today to be correct in your choices, and that being correct in your choices is far better than being certain in your choices. Have a blessed day. I hope you're enjoying your day, and have a wonderful one.